Namaste, yogis. Hello. Welcome to Business Corner. Today we have our special guest, PollyAnna Brown. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
PollyAnna Brown is she's a specialist in storytelling. She helps business owners and entrepreneurs grow their audience, impact, and income. She's the founder of Storytelling Marketing, and she's the owner of PK Media, which is a marketing and PR firm. She's a wife, she's a mom, she's a business owner, and she's on a mission to help entrepreneurs and business owners leverage their time and make more sales by using PR and storytelling. And we're so lucky to have her here tonight. She's going to be talking with us tonight about using storytelling to help grow your business. So thank you for being here tonight, PollyAnna.
Oh, it's my absolute honor. I'm so excited to just dive in with you guys and share everything. So I'm so excited to learn what you would like to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell me a little bit just about what an interesting job to have, be a professional storyteller. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got into that?
Absolutely. So I blame my mom. So that's just how this story starts. So when I was 6 months old, I was entered into a beauty contest. And shockingly enough, I won. And that entered me into child modeling. And I started doing that. And sooner than I had expected, I was transitioning into acting and singing. And I was just really performing all the time. So I stayed in the beauty pageant scene for a while, but I was also being trained on camera and all these other things. I was performing on stage. And I just had a life of professional storytelling. And then that moved into, I was really exploring writing, and I became a professional writer as well. And so I decided that I really wanted to move more behind the scenes as the writer, as the storyteller versus the story performer. And that was really powerful for me because I wanted to connect with people through stories. The power of stories has always spoken to me because I've always been so inspired by seeing what other people's stories are, or what's going on in the world, or what happened in the past, and also what's possible for the future. So we can decide, is that what we want or is it not what we want? Then I feel like the power of stories really gives people an emotionally intense choice experience. And that's really for me what it's all about. So really choosing what you want to experience and what you want to have in your life in a way that's really entertaining and engaging. So that's how I got into it.
That's so interesting that you did that. And then how did you figure out, like, from this background of a kind of artsy background, that you wanted to bring it into the business sphere?
Well, it was really interesting. I had another business, and I started doing business when I was 9. So I grew up around my grandparents, and my grandparents owned a furniture store. So I was around entrepreneurship, and both of my uncles were also in the furniture business, and one of them owned a furniture repair company, funnily enough. So I was very familiar with owning your own business, but in a completely different way. So when I was 9 years old, I wanted a doll really bad, and we couldn't afford it. And my mom told me if I made the money, then I could get the doll. So I packed up a little red wagon with all these cleaning supplies, and I had made flyers out of construction paper and crayons. And I went door to door selling cleaning services to my neighbors. And so that was kind of my start in business. And I always had a new business venture. Like, that's just how I was. So my first online business was actually an intuitive business where I was doing readings and helping people with their life and coaching them in that way.
Oh, so a lot of people in my group might be interested in hearing a little more about that. So anyway.
Absolutely. So it was really powerful because it was something that I was really good at, that I had always used, but I really didn't do a lot of the business things that I should have because I was working off of the retail model that I grew up around, and I didn't understand online business at the time. So I figured I was my own ideal client. I knew what I wanted. And so I just put that out there to the world, and it didn't work out very well. So it was a really great experience to go, wait a second, I'm running my business according to what I think I'm supposed to do instead of actually learning what that is. So I decided to stop and do business a different way. And how I got into the intuitive business was I was giving readings to friends at a retreat. I had gone to a spiritual retreat and I had brought some cards with me. And so people started asking me for readings, and I just started giving them, and they kept begging for more. And I was like, oh, well, I'm good at this and people want it, so I guess I should turn it into a business, which is not the way to start a business. So that didn't turn out very well. 3 years later, kind of folded the business, and I knew that I wanted.
I'm kind of curious because I think a lot of people actually like the creative aspects of business. Like, if you like have a logo and like a website and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I had all of that. I had all the pieces that I thought I needed, right? The logo, the website. I had a YouTube following. Yeah, I had all the things. And
you have like an accountant, a lawyer.
I did. And it was funny. My best year was $1,200 with all those things. And I was like, this ain't working. So needless to say, I decided to take a step back from that and really evaluate. I knew I wanted a business. I knew that that was just what I wanted for me. And so I started looking at, okay, what do I love? Like, what do I really, really love? And for me, that's always been storytelling. I still work on novels and screenplays in my spare time. Like, that's me. That's what I love. And so I was like, okay, storytelling's my jam. That's my thing. That's what I feel lit up by, what I want to do every day, all day. Who do I really want to help? Like, who does this serve? Because I was like, oh, I could sell books. That makes sense. But like, what else? Right? Especially because if I want to write a book, I need some money in the process. Right. So, right. So I really started getting into the entrepreneur scene really deep, and I was seeing what was going on. And this was about 2 years ago, a little bit more than 2 years ago. And people were really struggling with sharing their story. And there really wasn't a leader in the space. And the couple of people that were prominent in the space, they didn't have my background, right? And they didn't teach it the way that I would teach it to people. And so I really saw a huge opening for what I did. And so I started my business simply by teaching entrepreneurs how to tell their story. And that was it.
Well,
and
you do, like, I've tried to put my story together, and either it's like my new novel that nobody else is going to be interested in reading except for me, or it's hard to pick out like which details would be interesting to people or
yes,
you need to hear. So, I tend to sort of go very linear with it, and I think maybe that's not the most compelling way to tell the story. And it's hard to do your own. Like, it's like I could write somebody else's story for them probably, but to do my own, it gets I get lost in the weeds.
And that's the thing too. A lot of people will teach brand story, and one of the most controversial things that I ever say, and I say it all the time, is I hate brand story. Like, I refuse.
What exactly is brand story?
You don't even need to know. Like, it's that bad. So don't even go there.
And I work in engineering, and they're very, there's sort of this like genre of story for the engineering world of the guys that started the business in the garage, like Microsoft. And I think they discovered that like half of those people who claim that they started in their garage like totally did not start in their garage.
That's so funny.
It's a whole thing in high tech. It's like, we started our business in the garage.
That's so funny. Yeah. And the thing with storytelling is starting at the beginning usually is boring, right? In the beginning, not much is going on. So it's there's a whole different way of telling stories that's really compelling and really exciting for the storyteller, which is the whole point. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like brand story. Is brand story is very linear. This is how I started my business, why I started my business, and this is where it is now. Straight line. Boring. And I teach it differently. I really like teaching you start in the action. Where was it interesting and action filled? And that's usually in what I call the pit, right? Like rock bottom, right? This is where people are sweating. What do I do? Right? And that emotional overwhelm, that compelling piece is really powerful because people get to connect with it and go, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? One of the best examples that I can give you is I had a client who she was sick for a long time. And the doctors ran lots of tests and couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. We didn't start the story there. We didn't start with the symptoms and everything like that. We started the story like this. My doctor walked into the office and slammed a thick folder in front of my face. He looked me square in the eye and said, "You're screwed." Right? So much more powerful than I felt sick one day.
Years later.
Exactly. Because the power of a story is you can grab them in the action where it's interesting and flashback. Where did it start, right? Get people interested before telling them the details, because you need to give them a reason to stick around for the details, right? It's not that they're not important. They totally are, but they have a place. And that place is after you get someone all intrigued, right? It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed when you talk to men, they want to know like the end of the story first, and then they're going to decide if they want to hear the rest. It's kind of that same theory. You get them with a juicy bit and they're like, what? And then you tell them the other pieces, because then it makes sense and they're willing to give you their time because they know something interesting is coming.
Right. Absolutely. Well, when do you tell a story in a business? I mean, I think there's always that origin story, but where else are people using it in their businesses?
Honestly, storytelling touches every piece of your business. And it's actually how I came up with storytelling marketing, why I became the founder of it, because there is not a single piece of your business that is not touched by storytelling or a storytelling principle. So there are a bunch of different structures when it comes to storytelling and storytelling principles. It's also a mindset, the way you look at the world, the way you communicate about the world. It's very sensorial, right? So it's very involved. Usually when people talk to me, I'm giving in-depth examples of things and they can see them, hear them, feel them, taste them. And that's all storytelling. I'm not necessarily telling a story, but I am using storytelling in everything that I do. So it comes for structure. The way that we tell stories is the way that we naturally absorb information. And so when you have that and you know the way that that works, you can structure every piece of content, every piece of copy to be absorbed the way it's meant to, right? You know how to entertain and engage because you know your audience and who you're talking to. You know what their emotional journey is, so you know what stories make sense, right? Because if you're talking to them about empowerment, you're not necessarily going to talk to them about the first time you baked a cake, right? It's not necessarily going to be the same thing unless you tried to bake that cake 50 times and then you finally had a moment where you yelled at the universe and said, I'm going to bake the perfect cake. And then you bake the perfect cake, right? Then it makes sense. But it always has to go back to, does this make sense for my audience? And that's really key. For storytellers, the whole point is the audience. To entertain, make them think, get them outside of their vision and expand them. And so you have to know where they are to get them where you want them to go. And that's the same thing in business. You have to know where your people are to take them where they want to be. And so in order to communicate that, you need to know all of those storytelling pieces so that you're creating a cohesive experience in your business for your people. So you're communicating effectively. And that's all it is. Storytelling broken down really simple, higher level communication. That's it. It's not necessarily the sharing of experiences. The sharing of stories is the smallest, most insignificant part of storytelling. I know I just talked a lot.
No, I just was sort of processing it. Sometimes I have to like stop and everything processes through, and then I think about the next step. I am kind of curious. I wanted to back up a little bit about what you were saying. And first, I just want to acknowledge, thank you so much for sharing that, because I think it's very useful to think about, especially in online where people, you know, are looking through your website to try to get to know you, that you can be like sharing a story on those pages rather than just, you know, sort of here, you know, here's what I have to offer, here is my features, my benefits, but actually be sort of entertaining them in a way.
Absolutely. And if you don't know storytelling, it's hard to make those interesting, because you can tell them about, you know, the features, like you said, that you're going to get this and you're going to get this and you're going to get this. But then the benefits, how that really affects their life, you can say, yeah, you're going to have more confidence, and yeah, you're going to be able to be better at sales, and yeah, you're going to make more money. But if that isn't structured in a way that's specific to them, that paints a picture that they can see and feel and like get excited about, it ain't going anywhere. So it really is. It touches every little piece because of the details, the senses involved, and the way that it allows someone to process what you're saying. The goal of storytelling in any form is really to paint a picture. And that's what it does. It paints a picture to elicit an emotion. And that's all it is.
I want to back up a little bit to the fact
Yeah.
that you were starting this business that was based on your passion, which is really what my business is all about, that people can do that. And I mean, did you like, did you sort of see that this could come, like all this time that you were investing and learning storytelling, were you just like, well, this is my love? And then how did you start to figure out like how you could use it as a business? Because it seems it's so unusual what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, like to figure out like, oh, I could actually use this gift to make money. I think a lot of people, I know a lot of people in my group, it's like they have a very special, unique niche. And I think that you're very much in that mold of somebody who has your very unique path that you've taken. So I was curious to learn about how you started feeling confident that you could actually make money doing it.
Well, I think one of the things that was actually really helpful for me is that I have been a storyteller my whole life, ever since I can remember. I've always been utilizing this skill, learning this skill, taking it deeper. So it's something that's always been a priority, right? So I've seen the value. And as young as 3 years old, I was telling everybody, I'm going to be an actress. I'm going to be an actress and a singer. Like that's just, I'm going to be famous, right? I'm going to be in movies and TV shows and da-da-da-da-da. And that for me shifted to, I'm going to write the movies. I'm going to write the novel series that go viral. I'm going to do this and that. And so there was always a monetary value attached to my genius that was very clear and very high level. And so for me, it was easy to say, I can pivot this into something else because I know that there's value there. But I had to, the part that was difficult for me was really saying, how do I use this differently? This is how everybody else uses it.
Right.
How am I going to use this? Who's going to want this from me? Right? because I knew I could totally go down the road
You
of
must have thought that you were going to be like a novelist or a playwright or something like that when you were studying, right?
absolutely. And and I still got novels I'm working on. So that's still in there. But I was trying to think of, how do I make money with this now? Who does this help now? Because I knew like there's drama therapy. I could go down that road. And I kept looking at all these boxes. What box do I fit in? Right?
That's, I think, the big thing my
Mm-hmm.
people are asking, like, what box do I fit in? And I think that the people in my group, like, give up the box.
That's pretty much what I did. I was like, you know what? What if I created my own box? Right? And for me, creating my own box is fun. Like, I'm not pigeonholing myself. I'm decorating and revamping and making it bigger and, making it shine. And so that's really exciting to me. But I know it's my place. And that's really what it's about, finding my place. And so this is how I did it. I went, what am I passionate about that I could do all day, every day, and not want to do anything else? And instantly, storytelling. Got it. Holla, I'm ready. So then I went to, who does this help? And when I realized that entrepreneurs could really utilize this to make more sales in their business and really make an impact, I went, well, what are entrepreneurs to me? Like, what are business owners to me? And I realized that I was really passionate about them because my belief, this is one of my big things, is my belief is that world peace is going to happen through the innovation of entrepreneurship. And that's how it's going to show up. So if I can teach all of the amazing, heart-centered, forward-thinking people who own businesses how to share their story, how to get their message out in a meaningful way, how to really make an impact that matters, then we're going to get there a heck of a lot sooner, and I might even see it. So that was exciting for me. And it really was thinking about, what do I love to do? Who do I love to work with? This wasn't about like, who's going to benefit, because anyone can benefit from what I do, right? Same thing with, for yogis, right? Everyone needs yoga. Everybody does. But that doesn't mean that that's who you best serve or who you love to serve, right?
It's like, you don't really know who exactly it is that you're meant to serve.
And that's why you play and tweak.
I think a lot of yoga teachers are like, I'm going to serve the poor and the downtrodden, and I think some of that's about being in a control position, like, I'm going to help people that sort of, I feel like, could benefit from my wisdom, rather than like, wow, maybe there's like people I'm meant to serve who, like, I would have never ever imagined that I was supposed to serve, like, it's just being wide open to where those people are that really need to hear your message.
Yeah, the other thing is too, especially with really spiritual based businesses and service based businesses, the biggest issue is a lot of them have social stigmas that what they have is they should give it away for free because people need it. No, because people respond to what they invest in. And in the culture that we have, we invest with money, right? And people don't invest their time unless they invest their money. That's not a bad thing. It's not a dirty thing. It is very powerful because then everyone's being nourished in the deepest way. And then once you're nourished and full, and when you're overflowing, that's not just with energy. It's not just with feeling good. It's also with money. When you're overflowing with money, then you can serve the poor and downtrodden, because then you have the excess energy, then you have the excess money, then you have the excess everything to share, versus trying to start from a place of not having enough, trying to give to these people who don't have enough. So you're continually depleting every source you have until there's nothing left. And then you go, what did I do wrong? Did I do something bad? Did I do something hurtful? Right? And we start doing the blame game internally. And it was as simple as we didn't give from a state of overflow. And that's huge. And same thing with stories. You can't share from a container that's emotionally empty. Your emotional container needs to be full for your stories to make an impact, for them to make sense, for them to connect. And so everything comes back to this idea that the state of overflow, the state of more than enough, is the place where you shine the best to do not only your acts of service, but your acts of charity. And that is a really powerful way of giving.
Why do you think that people who are, particularly people in healing professions, tend to sort of want to go to this place of need, of lack, when there is already, so much that they have? So why is it so many people feel like, oh, I should give it away for free, and sort of beating them? Like, I just see this
all the time.
People who are like, feel like it's a bad thing to make money doing healing work. And then also there's almost like a stigma about it. And then on the other hand, like a complete frustration that they can't spend their lives doing the thing that they love.
Yes, there's three things at play. Yes. Oh, this is the other way to say three. There are three things at play. So the first one is a deserving issue. Do I really deserve it? And this is all subconscious, right? So for some reason or another, this happens so often with people who are really giving. A lot of times they give so much to prove their worth, their worthiness, their deservingness to themselves, right? I gave something, so I'm a better person, which means I'm okay, right? So that's really big, because if they accept money for what they do, which is helping people, if they require money to help people, then they are selfish. That's the thought process. Instead of thinking, if I require money to help people, I am helping them in a deeper, more profound way. And that's the shift that needs to be made. So that's the first thing. The second thing is there is this, I never like to use this term, but it's accurate, this ancestral, subconscious, that's collective, that has developed from the Christian and Catholic faiths, right? And this is really developed from the idea that if you're going to be in service to spirituality or in service to something along those lines, then you give up all earthly things to become this ultimate spiritual being. And the issue with that is, one, those were created out of a sense of control, right? So if you had your spiritual leaders who are in alignment making a ton of money on top of it, instead of being in service to the people who made a lot of money, you'd have some pretty crazy things going on in the economy and in the world that would be very good for everyone else except for the top people making money, right? And so that's how that developed. But because it's been that way for thousands of years, people have decided spirituality is something you cannot charge for because it needs to be given for free. And I need to have a vow of not enough in order to be filled from the universe. And it's backward thinking based on all of those things that we just talked about. So that's the other. And then the third, we've got the deserving issue. We've got the historical issue. And then there was a third one. I'm trying to think of what it was. Let's see, as far as why they don't charge. I can't remember what the third one is. And it was good. I really wanted to give it to you. So
come up with it probably as soon as we end.
Probably. That's probably going to be what happens. but it's a huge thing across the board as far as people not being willing to charge for what they do.
I think a lot of people, it's the spiritual practice is very special to them.
Mhm.
And I think that if you start to have to charge for it, then you have to open yourself
Oh,
up a little bit to some criticism of it. You know?
that's what it is too. The third one is the idea of I have to choose to be a spiritual being or I have to choose to be a physical being. And they're actually intertwined. And that's the really big thing. If you are going to be spiritually full, it only makes sense for your bank account to be full, right? It only makes sense to surround yourself with beautiful things, whatever that is. And I'm not talking about, you don't have to go buy a Dolce & Gabbana purse. Like, you don't have to do that, but there's nothing wrong with doing it either, and it's about making space for allowing yourself to experience life in the way you truly desire to experience it. And that might mean taking that money that one person would go spend on a purse and go building a well. Neither is better, shockingly enough. Neither is worse. It's really about what feels fulfilling in this experience and how do I then bring that light that I'm filled with to other people and what is that impact in the world. So if you want a $50,000 purse, it's okay to have that $50,000 purse as long as you're not hurting anybody. And if you're being of service, you're not hurting anybody. You are making the world a much better place. And if you're taking care of you, it's much, much easier to give back to the world. Poverty does not inspire less poverty. So that's really important.
I think that people are concerned that they might buy into a philosophy that's going to lead them to be like a manipulator or
Mm-hmm.
somebody who uses people.
Mm-hmm.
We have, within the yoga world, there's just so many examples of people who do this kind of stuff. So I think that there's all these concerns about if I were to get comfortable making money, then maybe I might get too comfortable with it and
Mm-hmm.
become a person that I don't like with money. Maybe in a way, as long as you don't have money, it's easier, because you don't have those choices to make about.
It's such an interesting thing because here's the truth, which I'm so excited that you brought this up. The truth is you have the choice to be whatever person you want to be at any moment in time. And so the only way you become a bad person, right, or someone you don't want to be, is if you allow yourself to ignore who you want to be. Right? So for example, if you are someone who really loves your family and you want time with your family, but you're spending all of your time on your business, I mean for months and months and months or years at a time, spending all the time on the business and ignoring your family, that's not really being the person you want to be, right? A couple stretches here or there, okay. But you make a list of your priorities, you ask yourself if these actions line up with those priorities, and you reflect, how have I been acting? What's been showing up? And you do this regularly, right? Because conscious awareness is the gift of the human. And that is what allows us to be whoever we want to be. And that includes being that amazing, vibrant, loving, giving, generous person that has money. So it's so important to realize that every step along the way, you're choosing who you're going to be and how you're going to be that person. And there is nothing external that can change that choice. All those choices come from you. So the power of being human is the power of choosing who you're going to be and what bank account you want to match.
Yeah, I think, it's just, I think there's an between sort of being somebody who has like so much money and so much power that you're like, I can't help but, sort of use it in a bad way. And then being somebody who's like struggling broke. And I think there's a place where you're like comfortable and able to live a nice life and you're able to do nice things and be a nice person. and, you know, like have a life that's in harmony
Yeah.
instead of like, I don't think that there's this, I think we create a false dichotomy of like, well, either I'm that, you know, person who's spiritually abusive, and sort of driven by money and greed, or I'm a person who's like sort of, you know, spiritually pure but impoverished.
Yes. There's a middle ground.
There's a middle ground where you can just like be comfortable living a nice life, be a nice person.
Yes.
Like,
And that dream is up to everyone. Everyone has their own version. Like, I'll be honest, for me, mine is having a like 9, 10, 11 figure empire with multiple businesses, but spending most of my time with my family, writing books and doing things behind the scene and being very low key, but having really nice things that make me feel connected to my life experience, that give me great memories with my family. And I'm not going to lie, I really want a McLaren really bad. So if anyone doesn't know what a McLaren is, it is an amazing car.
so basically, you want to be J.K. Rowling.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. J.K. Rowling, but with a PR firm. And then everything else J.K. Rowling has. So that's pretty much, you know, me, but not everyone is going to have the same dream as me. And that's okay. There's some people that they want to travel the world and see different cultures and do all that kind of stuff. And that's amazing and beautiful and powerful. So know what your dream is and then give yourself permission to have it, right? And give yourself permission for that dream to change, because it will. It'll shift.
You know, I think that that would be such a beautiful story to be able to share with people when you finally embrace your dream. And I think that's a story that really is, when you see people who are successfully having healing businesses where they kind of realize like, oh, it was okay for me to really do what was in my heart to do all along. And suddenly I gave myself permission. And now I'm here and I'm showing up and I'm fully me. Yes. I think that that's a story that, you know, it really connects with people.
Mm-hmm. And it's important to realize there's going to be challenges along the way, and that's okay. And just because if you have a backslide, or if you find yourself doing something out of integrity, right? That doesn't mean you have to throw it all away. It means you take a step back, you reevaluate, and you move forward the way you want to. And that's powerful. Realizing that you have the choice every step of the way, and that nothing is irreparable unless someone is physically harmed, of course. But that there's always a choice to fix something or to change something or shift something, then you're good.
I think we might be at a good stopping point. I wanted to thank you for taking some time to
You're
share
so welcome.
what you do. I want you to let people know how can they work with you and what kinds of services do you offer, because I don't know anybody else who does what you do. So you mentioned it as a PR. I guess that's probably the niche that you fit into, but it seems like a very special part of it. So what kind of services do you offer to people?
Yes, so we are a full service marketing and PR firm. So we do PR, we do copywriting, we do campaigns, and we also do coaching. So there's a lot of different pieces. And I have another secondary business with my business partner where we do business coaching together and some more one-on-one mentorship kind of staff and group programs. And so I do teach on storytelling and copywriting and all that kind of stuff. So if you're looking for any of that, the best place to get me is Facebook. That's the best place to get me. So if you go to facebook.com/PollyAnna Writes, and that's WRITES. I had to spell it out in my head. That is a great place to find me. You're welcome to message me there. It's a really, really quick way to get a hold of me. And another place would be PollyAnnaBrown.com.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We'll put links below in the description for people who want the easy way to access Pollyanna, and also in the description of this on YouTube, we'll have links to Sadhana, my business Sadhana catalog, and it's spelled the American way, C-A-T-A. I'll spell the whole thing out. SADHANA catalog.com. Sadhanacatalog.com is a website. And we also have a Facebook group, which will be linked down below. It's the Sadhana community. So anyway, please check out the store. Please check out our Facebook group. Please check out Pollyanna's Facebook group. Do you have a Facebook group?
I do. If you do facebook.com/groups/storymaster, that's where you're going to find me. It's the High Performance Storytelling Marketing Group.
So you can all join the group and then go check out her website and her Facebook page. Thank you so much, Pollyanna.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
And I'm going to stop the recording now. Bye. Wait.